Okay, this is a problem about pea plants, and while the last several examples have been about more than one trait at a time, what we call polygenic traits or dihybrid crosses, where we were tracking two traits at once, this one only has one trait, and it's whether a pea plant is long-stemmed or short-stemmed. And they say long stem is dominant, so I'm going to use capital L for long stem, and I don't want to use just a vertical line, so I'm going to use a loopy L like that for short stem. Short stem. And they want the ratios of the offspring from cross-pollination. Cross-pollination just means one plant fertilized another plant. Some plants are capable of doing a trick where they fertilize themselves. One part of the plant will release pollen which lands on a flower from the very same plant, and that means one plant can reproduce itself and keep going. This is not that. This is plant sexual reproduction, where plant A releases pollen and it floats across the garden and lands on plant B and fertilizes it like animals do, so that you get a plant that has a mother and a father who are different organisms. And that means all the things we've been doing with our alleles are still going to work. We're still going to talk about mom pea plants and dad pea plants combining alleles to make a offspring pea plant. So don't think the word cross has anything to do with test cross. It's not that. It just means from one plant to a different plant. Anyway, they said a heterozygous long stem plant, well, no kidding, it's hetero, that means it has the dominant trait, crossed with a short-stemmed plant, which has to be little l. So we can make a Punnett Square for that easy enough. Now, while every creature has two copies of each, or two alleles for each gene, it only gets to pass on one of them. So this plant can pass on either its capital L or its lowercase l. In other words, half the pollen or spores that it makes are going to contain the big L. The other half will contain the little l. It's like the eggs or the sperm cells that an animal makes. This one can really only pass on little l. That's all it's got. Now, you could write this, but it's kind of a waste because you know that these two columns are identical. They're going to have the same information in them. So generally, we will blow off that second column, just say, I'm not going to write the same information twice. We'll just skip that. This is enough of a Punnett chart. And this is why I say Punnett chart and not square, because if you clean them up like this, sometimes you end up with a rectangle instead. So when these combine, this plant gets a big L from one parent, a little l from the other parent, and this plant gets a little l from each of its parents. So for genotype, we could say half of them will be big L, little l, and the other half will be little l. Or the other terms you could use are this plant is heterozygous and this plant is homozygous recessive. And as far as how they look, this plant is the dominant long stem allele, so this is a long-stemmed plant. And this one has the recessive twice, so this is a short-stemmed plant. So for phenotype, we could say the plants are half long-stemmed and half short-stemmed. The genotype is about what letters it has inside its genetic code, and the pheno is how does it actually look.